Good morning, Tahmina Khan is here in TKMaths is Fun. In today's video, I will explain the concepts covered under the heading of graphs of function, which is the topic of O-level mathematics. According to syllabus, these are the 4 points of 4 concepts, sub-concepts, which you need to understand and practice when you are preparing for graphs of function. Many times you have seen a question in which there is a table given, half of the values are unknown, an equation is given, so you find out the unknown values and then you answer the questions accordingly. Further, there are graphs of linear, quadratic, cubic, reciprocal, exponential type of function which you need to know. You need to understand which graph is related to which type of function and you should be able to interpret it. Secondly, question associated with those type of graphs you should be able to solve, and estimating gradient. So I have not covered all the aspect in this video, but few. So to see all the videos, you can go to my website address and under the heading of challenging question, you see all the topics are written here. If you click on any topic, you will see the videos I have made in it. So I keep adding videos to cover all the concepts here. So this is a very good resource. Now we need to recall few concepts in this. Number one is, what is the gradient of a curve? Because the gradient keeps changing on the curve. So if you have to find out the gradient at any particular point on the curve, for example, at x is equals to 2, you need to draw tangent there, right? And then finding the gradient of the tangent will help you to know the gradient at that point on the curve. We will see this in the question. Now let's recall few types of graphs, right? All those which are mentioned in the syllabus. So graph of exponential functions are of this type. One is facing upward, other is downward. Now what is the difference? You know the exponential equations are of this type: a power x, k is a coefficient. So if the coefficient of a power x is positive, the graph will have this shape. If k is negative, it's written k less than 0, then the graph will have this shape. You should be able to recognize it. Now, what are graphs of reciprocal functions? Reciprocal functions graph looks like this. Right? Now the equations. The equations are where x is in the denominator. For example, a number is in the numerator, any number. If the number is greater than 0, then shape of the graph will be like this. You will have graph. It will not touch the x-axis or y-axis, right? So these are asymptotes basically. So if your a is negative, then the shape of the graph will be like this. This is called graphs of reciprocal functions. Okay, now just a minute. Now let's see graph of cubic functions. Now I have taken here 4 shapes just to differentiate between them clearly. Let me show you here. Okay, so now you can see cubic function graph. If you see in this graph, it is passing through origin. What type of equations you have? Ax cube or ax cube, but a is negative. So shape of the graph is coming from up to down, right? Like this. In this case, from down to up it is going. But you see it is intercepting only at origin. Okay. Whereas in this graph, if you see, it is intercepting at 3 points on the x-axis, here, here, and here. Now, when your coefficient of a is positive and the equation is of the type ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d, it is intersecting at 3 points on the x-axis. The shape of the graph going up and then down and then up. So it is going from down to up, and in this case down to up to down, right? So if a is negative, which means the coefficient of x cube is negative, then the shape of the graph will be like this. It is intercepting at 3 points. And in the above one, it was just ax cube, so it was intercepting at 1 point. Now I'm not going into further detail, but there are types when the shape of the graph may be just touching at 1 point, and then it is tangent at the other point. Those are little technical things. We will study those later. Or it may be intercepting at 1 point and then going up like this, not intercepting at x-axis at all. So there are different types, but I'm just talking about basic right now. So you have to remember that if it is just ax cube, then it will pass through the origin, right? But if it has equation, complete equation, it will intercept at 3 point, or may not 3 point, just 2 point. But anyway, you have to match the equations with the sketch. So that part will be easy, not into very challenging type of questions. Now there are types of question in which your x square is in the denominator, right? And numerator has a constant. If that constant is positive, greater than 0, then a sketch will be like this. Please remember, this graph will not touch the y-axis at all. This is an asymptote here. And if your a is negative and x square is in the denominator, then the shape of the graph will be like this. Then comes quadratic equation. Now this is something most of the students know. The quadratic equation curves are called minimum value curve or maximum value curve. If the graph is facing upward, like happy face also in layman language it is called, then it is called minimum value curve, and these shapes are called parabola. So if your a is positive, the shape of the graph will be like this. And in which case it is passing through origin? When you have only this part of the graph, ax square. But we are focusing here the shape of the graph, right? Similarly, if a is less than 0, the coefficient of x square is negative, then the shape of the graph will be like this, either blue type, red type, sometimes this also, where it does not touch the x-axis, right? Again, depending, intercepting at 1 point, 2 point, or no point, that depends on the equation. But you remember the shape here. Now, last is graph of linear functions. Now, graph of linear functions, for example, if it is y is equals to 3, like 3 is a positive number, then it is a horizontal line passing through 3. If it is y is equals to, for example, -1, right? A is negative number now, so it will be passing through -1 horizontal line. If it is y is equals to ax, for example, 2x, right? The coefficient of x is positive. The shape of the graph will be like this. Now, this reminds you the linear equation y is equals to mx plus c, right? Now, if c is 0, it will pass through origin. If c has some value, it will pass through that number on the y-axis. And if your a is negative, then the shape of the graph will be like this. So this is you had to recall. Now let's check the question. In exam, equations are given to you and graphs are given to you, and you have to match. Now suppose these are the equations given to you and these are the sketches given to you. Now what you have just revised with me, you have to apply the knowledge here. So I have the solution on the next page. I'm going to show you that solution. If you want to test yourself, you can put the video on pause and match it yourself first, and then see the solution. So I'm showing you the solution to make this video shorter. Okay, so let's see the first one, the sketch. This sketch goes with a upon x, where a is negative, right? Because it is in the second and fourth quadrant. So you will match graph 1 with b equation. Now, if you see here, this is exponential curve. The moment you look at this shape, exponential curve. Because it is downward and not like this, it means the coefficient of a power x is negative. So it is this equation, -2 6x. Okay. Now, if you see the third one, this one, graph number 3, this shape reminds us immediately that x square is in the denominator and the coefficient or the numerator is negative number. That's why it is in the third and fourth quadrant. You see, a is less than 0. It means this number is negative, right? Now, let's see this one. What does it remind you? Again, it reminds you the equation which has x in the denominator, right? And numerator a is positive because it is in the first and third quadrant. I hope all your answers are coming right, because we revised before that, and I hope you are doing it correct now. Now, this is a cubic shape, and it is passing through origin only, and it is going from down to up. So it means coefficient of x cube is positive. So you can match graph 5 with A. Now graph 6. This is again exponential. And because it is above the shape is like this, it means the coefficient of a power x is positive. So it is reminding us this equation. Now again, this one is reminding us denominator x square. It is in the first and second quadrant. So numerator is positive. So a is greater than 0. So this type of equation will sketch this type of or this shape of the graph. Now if you see here, this reminds us cubic again, but it is coming from up to down. So it is negative coefficient of x cubed. So it is minus 3x cubed. So I hope all your answer would be right. So let's see. Very interesting two questions. This is basically to build the concept also and sort of fun also. The diagram is given to you here and a sketch is given to you. After this, I will show you two diagrams and you will sketch it roughly if you understood what we have done. Because the question is all about that you are pouring some liquid into the container and how the height is changing, because you see y-axis is height and t is time. But if you're pouring the water with a constant rate, then what type of graph you will get? If you're pouring the water with a constant, but the liquid with a constant speed, constant rate, the height will increase with the same rate throughout. So that's why the graph will be a linear graph like this, starting from origin, because when it is you start pouring, the container is empty, right? So let's see the other shape, and I will give you time to think about it. What type of graph you will get if you pour liquid in this container? What do you say? You can put the video on pause. I can give you hint. Till here, the rate will be constant. But what will happen here? The rate of increasing the height will increase or it will not increase. So if you see here because it is wider, so rate of increasing height will be slower compared to this portion, because the width or the diameter of the circle or the container is small here. So if you see here, the graph will be represented like this, that for certain period it is constant. This is also constant, but it is steeper because the rate of increasing height will increase in this portion, and this is a small portion. So they are showing for little time, right? Interesting. I believe you like it. And the last one. And by the way, if question says describe it, so you can say the graph of constant of two straight line consists of two straight line. Second line is steeper because the container is narrower from the top. So if this is the case, how will you draw it? Think about it. You can put the video on pause. The only hint here is if you pour the water, initially it will increase faster and then it will increase slower. It is non-uniform, right? But gradually it is slowing down, right? Because it is narrow from the bottom and getting wider as you go up and up and up. So what is happening here? This is very interesting. As time is passing, the rate is slowing down. When you draw like this, it is slowing down. If you had drawn the graph like this, it means the rate is increasing. If the same container I have taken of this shape, for example, container was something of this type, this shape, right? And you are pouring water from here. Then the shape of the graph will be like this. Sorry for double line, but it will be this shape. This means the rate of the height is increasing as time is passing. Here the rate of height is, it is increasing, but at the slower rate. Here it is increasing at the faster rate. So if you have to describe this, you can describe here. Since the cross-section area of the container is non-uniform, the graph consists of a curve that becomes less and less steep as the container gets wider. So in my next video, you will find the link below I am solving this past paper question, and it is very interesting and good question. The reason is it has so many parts and it covers almost all the aspects along with coordinate geometry. So the link is given below. You can see the solution of this question over there. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please share and subscribe. Share with your friends and subscribe it and like it. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.